Good evening, lovely tarot and magic lovers. Here we are for another episode of Nightriders. We have live from Brighton. We have none other than Paul Hughes-Barlow and Graham Constantine as our two magicians and tarot experts, and yours truly, Bart de Laplank. Tonight, we shall be discussing the topic of initiation and Coronzon. So,
the demon spirit.
Paul, kick it off.
Right. So, as tarot readers, why would initiation come up or be part of something you need to learn? In fact, it's a critical part of learning tarot, because as tarot readers, we're supposed to be able to deal and answer any question that anyone throws at us. And initiation is a part of life. It's about transitions. It's about stages that we go through. I mean, in traditional societies, there's one from puberty to manhood, where they take the boys into the jungle for a month or things like this. There's another initiation or transition you can see as marriage, losing virginity, your dad taking you to the pub at 14 for your first pint. That's 4 years underage if you're in England, which is what happened to me. And it's also a tool that's part of initiation as well. Graham's going to talk a bit about this, talking about my book, funnily enough, something he pointed out that I hadn't realised. So what is tarot to do with initiation? It's used primarily. There's 4 or 5 ways that Bart's disappeared already. People join, are admitted to an esoteric order, secret society, the Golden Dawn, Argentum Astrum, the OTO. There's loads of them. And you have to work out whether someone is a right and proper person to join, not whether they just got money, although in some cases that does help. So there's various means and methods that secret organizations use to determine the admissibility of a candidate. One is to pass tests or ordeals, which can be, in the simplest form, reading a book list. Which is a good way of starting things, and there's other things other hoops you're expected to go through. Another way is to know the candidate personally. You can vouch for that person and say he's a right and proper person to join your illustrious organisation. And then there's divination, which is the standard method very often of doing this. There's 3 main methods. Astrology, if you know your astrology and you have the candidate's date of birth and time and everything else, you can work out the elemental balance and where the planets are and where Pluto is. Yes, Bart?
I applied for Astral Initiation, and that was one of the questions, because I had to ask my birth certificate to the city hall, to the council, because I didn't know what time I was born. So that's a question. Astrum Argentium asks if you want to join them, your date.
Yeah. They would create a natal chart and probably a progress chart or something to determine from when you're born to what's happening in your horoscope at the moment. They can also use the tarot, which is basically most of the tarot spreads that tarot readers, tarot students are ever taught are completely useless for this, but that's another story. They can also do it by psychic means. And psychic means is when they actually visit the candidate in a dream or in other methods to determine whether or not they are suitable. This goes on more than you think. So the 5 stages of the opening of the key tarot spread, one of the purposes of that spread is for ascertaining the suitability of a candidate, and you can do that at a neophyte level and whichever level up you want to go as well, because of all the 5 stages: astrology, the 4 elements, Yod-He, Vouchsafe, and the Tree of Life, 32 paths as well, 36 paths rather, the decanates. All of that is pertinent to working out whether someone is suitable. And of course, the magician may do it, or he may get a tarot reader to do that as well. It's a specialized skill. Very few tarot readers have those skills. But if you've read my book, The Tarot and the Magus, and the other book, I've forgotten the name of. Yes, I've only written 2 books, and I'm going to remember one. Anyway, so there's the picture. So some of the things you can look for in a horoscope, or in dream visitations, or in a tarot reading, is to see if a candidate is ready, not what they say. You can look for hidden problems, things that they may not know about themselves. I think there's stories of people that had very badly aspected Neptune or the water cards, which made them prone to psychic attack or delusions and things like this as well, which is one way you can look at things. You can also look for spiritual solutions as well. What is required for that candidate to advance? Because each stage of initiation is to do with astrology just as much as this Kabbalistic Tree of Life, because there's certain stages people have to go through in order to get there. So that sounds all fine and dandy. But at an ethical level, as tarot readers, we're not supposed to be doing readings for third parties, are we? We're only supposed to be doing readings for the person in front of us. So, is that an ethical thing or not? Discuss.
Graham, you go first.
I think there's another aspect to it, which is all initiation is self-initiation anyway. So I think to some extent it originates in the person as much as it originates in the order.
Yeah, but I mean, how would you do a reading for yourself to know whether you are ready for the next stage? I mean, the problem with, tarot readings are fine if you're doing it for someone else. You have a client in front of you and you're reading for them, but reading for yourself to know whether you're ready to initiate. Well, of course we're ready. Must be, mustn't we?
I meant you could initiate going to see a tarot reader for them to do the reading for you.
Yes.
In which case there would be a direct relationship with a tarot reader.
Ah, see where you're coming from.
Yes.
That's a totally different kind of
thing.
It's interesting because in tarot readings, people come for readings. Very often they are transitioning from one state to another.
Yeah.
The typical one is going from being a member of your family as a brother or sister or something like that to being an adult who's also a brother and sister. A lot of people are still stuck in those memes of parents and all those kind of things, and you have to free yourself from these things. It's a self-actualization or individual thing as well that's going on. Yeah. So it's interesting that, yes, there's a lot of that kind of transition of energies. So you can call it initiation as an transition from one energy state to another, one level of personal development to another as well. What do you think?
You also have the exoteric and you also have the exoteric and the esoteric.
Bart's nodding wisely there.
I agree with him. It's true what he says. You have the initiations that are part of the culture where you live.
Yes.
Like the christening, the communions, the marriage, the whatever.
The death.
So these are, I think this is what you meant with exoteric.
Yes, exactly.
So this is actually, your front window that you take care of. You look good towards the outside world.
Yes.
But the esoteric are the ones that happen on the inside.
Yes.
And now these can actually, I find you can also subdivide them. You have these, an initiation for me, it can partly be something that you accomplish yourself but you also have these initiations that just happen.
Yes.
You don't expect them. You have no clue what's happening, but something happens and you change. And after this, you are a different person.
Yes.
Some voluntary, some involuntary, definitely.
Yeah, they just happen. Sometimes it's like...
Yeah. Yeah.
But how many tarot readers would know about that? Because they're just saying, we're looking at symbols and this will happen, that will happen. You know, this is not something that's taught, is it?
The viewers of this video will start to know.
We have a different view on things, I think. So, you know, we still haven't established the ethical kind of considerations for these things either, have we? I mean, I think some of them sort of, you know, they say you have to consent to being astrally checked out.
Come on. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Don't look at things as black and white, good and bad. It depends why you do it, what you're going to do, who you're doing it on. You have to look at each situation individually before you can properly judge.
Where did that come from?
I think it raises other questions as well about whose ethics.
Yeah.
Your own healthy judgment is the intention behind it.
You don't need to join a group for that.
Huh?
You don't need to join a group for that. You're something you know anyway.
Come on, you can do something. Or you can do something with best intentions. Or you can do something unethical with best intentions.
But you've also got like the collective or the group. If you're joining a group, you've got the group consciousness and you've got your individual. So is it your ethics? Is it the group's ethics? Who decides what the ethics are?
Yeah, I'm not really a group.
It's not a simple matter of flipping a coin. It's more complex than that, I think.
So is that the only way is ethics then?
The only way is ethics. Sounds a bit like Jonathan Roth.
It's a popular television program in England.
So, and ethics sounds so dogmatic as a word.
Well, thank God there's no dogma in secret societies, is there?
Crowley is a dogma.
Some people he is, yes. So we're actually alluding to something that you probably have no idea goes on. You know, this idea of you know, there's a physical initiation where people undergo experiences. Some people are buried in, you know, there's Sufi traditions where they put them in a pit for 40 days, and give them a few olives or dates and a bit of bread, you know, each day, and they sort of go through this 40-day initiation. But there's this astral initiations. You know, there's the ones where you've agreed when you sign up that someone will come and check you out to see whether you are suitable for this august organization and not some kind of pervert or criminal or something like that. And then there's another type of initiation, which is where people are initiated into an order because they have an interest in tarot or other things, and you have no idea that it's happened to you. And it goes on a lot. This is what goes on, basically. So there's another, this is a way of using magic, black magic, is to use initiation as a force, because if you're initiated into that group, you're supposed to be bound by the group egregore and all the things, and therefore they control you, which is the aspect of initiation that's never discussed, because you're supposed to sign the Official Secrets Act and not give away any secrets, unless of course you're the boss of the order, where you can write a book about it later. Isn't that so? Do you know about this part?
No, I've never been in an order.
Well, you know, I've said that, but you think that. But
actually, yes, I am. It is true. I mean, I'm only a probationer, but they say you stay a probationary. So yes, I'm a probationer.
It's room 101, you know, you can stand. But I mean, the thing is, I mean, I'm pretty certain.
I'm not a probationer. Correct it. I'm not probationer. I'm a student.
You
I'm below probationer.
You don't even get an L.
probation yet.
So I'm pretty certain I've been initiated into various orders. You know, they haven't said anything, but you know, this is what goes on.
And have you ever physically been a member of an order?
I did transcendental meditation, so part of getting the mantra is to do the puja. You know, the teacher does a puja and things like this. And also with the pundits as well, there's things happen, which you know, the thing about an initiation is that it's a way of aligning your energies with the higher good, or something that approximates to that. But if you've been initiated in an astral, because it's easy to initiate pretty much anyone into a group. So how many tarot readers are a member of groups they have no interest in whatsoever, but because they're tarot reader, we'll stick them in anyway. It goes on. Silence there.
And I have been a member of a magical order. I went through a formal initiatory process, which of course is not something that I can particularly discuss. But but it is all written down, so you can find it if you look in the right books.
It's a
Is
secret
it a well-known
to read the right
order?
books.
It's an order that is known, yes.
So shall we pray charades?
It's a phenomenon.
So let's bring it back to tarot and a bit more things that we understand with tarot. Is there's certain cards that are associated with initiation. The primary one is the Hermit card, which is a solitary man. It's not one that you'd kind of associate with a fraternity, is it? He's doing his own thing. But actually, probably the most powerful one is the Hermit card. It's because it's to do with Yod. The Yod S10 also covers 20, and it's also the beginning of Yod Hey Vav Hey, the Tetragrammaton. And all Hebrew letters are constructed from Yods, every single letter. So, and Yod is the top of the tree, is 10, and 10 is in, which is Malkut, which puts it in Keter, because Malkut is in Keter as well. So that card in particular, and Crowley's description, is about initiation. There's a couple of other ones that are very important and germane to perhaps the experience as much as anything else. We've already alluded to one, which is the death card. Initiation is you die to the outside world and reborn in the order. So there's that alchemical transformation that goes on. And allied with that card, and it's also to do with water, is the Hanged Man, which is very much this idea of rebirth and becoming something new, and you're hanging suspended. Odin was put on the tree for 40 days or something. I can't remember how many days was it? Yes, but
can't you consider every card of the major arcana or initiation card?
People do, don't they? They do there is that kind of thing that you can go with them as well. Yes, I've forgotten about that. So that's another aspect to the whole thing.
If you look in Appendix 4 of the
We're
Tarot
coming to that in a minute, Graham. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. So one of the primary symbols of initiation, certainly in the high levels, and it's associated with death, is the grave, the coffin, and Christian Rozenkreutz, of course, who was put in the grave of Christian Rozenkreutz. And Jesus died for 3 days, and he went to heaven, and his grave was empty, wasn't it? They pulled back the cave, and there he was gone. So they're all, there's many ways of sort of, rituals, I guess, or initiation. Well, aren't they, in some form? Spirits can initiate you, not just people. You see. So that's why people invoke and evoke, because they try and get round the process. Because basically, You don't need to invoke or evoke, as Crowley said. You just need to, when you're ready, the spirits turn up anyway. So they're not a, it's not
Your
a
first
requirement.
successful-
If you have the aptitude and ability, they'll find you out.
But you have to admit, for me, my first successful, what is it? Evocation. That is an initiation on itself.
Yeah.
So it's a special
Because
moment.
once you've done it once, you can do it again.
Yes. It is, but it's just a matter of, how do you say, like being scared to go over a threshold. But once you've gone over it, I find it's...
Well, we're coming to the abyss and Corans on then, aren't we? That's what the whole thing is about. But Graham, I think you have some insights into the...
Yeah, I have two lots of insights.
Two lots.
One is the 5 Yods method of initiation, which I made up this morning.
I was going to say, we've never heard of the 5 Yods. What do you mean? Don't tell me you made it up this morning. It sounds like you've concocted it as something to say.
I constructed it out of drawing on the right side of the brain, which is quite an interesting book to read.
How do you do it like that?
Yeah, you can do tattoo the side of you.
Yeah.
So the first step is initiate. Second step, investigate. Third step is incubate. Fourth step is illuminate. And the fifth step is integrate, which also has some resonance with the Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell as well, which are kind of useful metaphors for the process of going over.
That kind of reminds me of shamanism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, slightly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I.
It's the Yorkshire initiation.
Aye.
Nay.
So starting with the first one.
Yeah, initiate. I mapped this to the Tarot and the Magus. So I mapped initiate to the Magus and the Aeon. So in the Tarot and the Magus, the tarot cards are done in pairs. So based on what Bart said earlier, you could use any of the tarot cards. But I chose this particular order because that kind of made sense to me at the time. So initiate is the Magus and the Aeon.
302.
Investigate is the Chariot and Art.
Yeah, so that's 68.
Incubate is adjustment and death, which is what you just mentioned.
Right. Well, you didn't mention adjustment, but...
No, you mentioned death. Yeah.
Yes.
The illuminate is fortune and lust.
Right.
And integrate is the fool and the universe.
Yes, because you think that would be the first one, wouldn't you? But you put it to the last. And the first of shows shall be last.
Yes.
The last shall be first.
Yes.
Alpha and Omega.
So I would recommend, as I was going to say earlier, I would recommend Appendix 4 of the Tarot and the Magus.
Tarot and the Magus. What I wrote.
Which has got a structure for self-initiation into the tarot and also discovering your holy guardian angel, whatever that may be.
Not sure how many people have got that far in my book.
I've read it cover to cover.
Yes. Have you scribbled in my book? Have you
got my notes all over it? It's also got your signature at the beginning with a date on it as well. So
yes, you managed not to scribble on that bit, or the sacred bit.
Yeah, I have scribbled on that as well, I have to say. Yeah. It's scribbled on all over.
There's nothing sacred here, is there?
No.
Just, you know?
That's my own unique method of doing this stuff. So
I think, therefore, I scribble.
Exactly. No, I scribble, therefore I think. It's the other way around.
Yeah, I scribble, therefore I am.
I think it's really interesting because, like a lot of people who write a book, it's done. You never want to read the bloody thing again, you know? But actually, when sort of Graham sort of reading it and sort of stuff, he said, your book's about this, isn't it? Is it? I just thought it's about selling fortune reading tarot and the opening key spread. So no, you got this in it. No, you got that in it. Really?
Do you remember, Paul, when we were just going to start, when we did our first episode of Tarot Talk, because we wanted to discuss your whole book.
Yes.
So I just made a list of questions of the introduction.
You had about 30 questions, didn't you?
That was about
we got
3
through
hours.
3.
And that was just the introduction.
So yes, so the Tarot and the Magus is a manual of initiation. The Tarot is used because it is the opening of the key spread, and it is using the, as we discussed in an episode of Bart and Paul a week or two ago about pairing cards and the way you can use them as a line, because then we also talked about the Naples arrangements and all these kind of things. Because there's a general exordium in there. Was it the particular? I can't remember. Several of the exordiums.
The general
and the Lima 2, 3, 1 spirits, which are very much part of the initiatory process as well. It's all about pairing values up, which is a big part of things. So what other things have you found out in my book, Graham? That
there's loads. There's loads. One of the things that is useful when thinking about initiation is to give yourself a name.
Yes.
Who you wish to become.
Yes.
So that is written on the front page of the book. The person who I wish to become.
But you wrote it, not me.
You wrote, yeah. Oh, it was. But I gave you the name. You wrote it, so you put that name on your.
Right, but I spelt it wrong. Oh, that's the name I spelt wrong.
On your tarot journey, Paul
Yes.
Hughes-Barlow, and that it's got the date on it.
Oh, right. So your magical name is.
Yes, I tried to just correct it at just one letter. Yes,
But that might save you on your astral junketing, mightn't it? You know.
Exactly. But it's not just. You don't just have one. You develop them as you go along.
I think that's bloody blasphemy.
Bloody blasphemy.
Spelling your name wrong.
Oh
no! I think it may have just been my reading of the writing. That's the other possibility.
Maybe he wrote it right that you never knew that it was actually written.
Yes. Yes. All these years you had it wrong.
But it's now
Took
spelled.
a tarot reader to correct you.
It's now spelt the way I want it to be spelt. So that's the main thing. If you look at Crowley, he had several magical names during his
many
during his journey. Yes,
and they do represent changes of consciousness as well.
Yes,
and it's a way of hiding the guilty from the innocent.
Yes,
things like this, hiding behind. Give yourself a pompous Latin name.
Exactly.
We'll
or a comedy name, or whatever you want to do. I was Conan the Vegetarian for a while.
We'll have to torture Bart to find out what his magical name is.
It's Batman.